Hey friends, Kevin here from the Chord podcast, the podcast inspiring young rock and metal fans to discover new music, connect, and feel like they belong. Hell yeah, everybody. It's our second ever Friday episode, just kind of giving you an update of what's been going on, taking a look at the week that was, and looking at the week that is going to be. So, taking a look back at last week, on a personal note, things for the podcast have been kind of swamped, but things are definitely potentially looking a little bit more up. When it comes to the podcast as well, there is definitely talk about, when we're going to start launching that Patreon program. So that will be coming at some point in the future. However, thanks to my friends Shane and Ray, we have ideas for 2 t-shirts. Well, I had an idea for a t-shirt originally that I wanted to do that we will be putting out alongside with the Patreon program. And the second t-shirt we'll be putting out, they kind of came with an idea for it. I'm not going to give away what it is, but just know that it's definitely going to be mosh pit inspired. So, yeah, we're actually going to have Chord Progression Podcast merch by, I want to say target date is end of April. So be on the lookout for that, which is kind of exciting because, we can actually have t-shirts for this shit. I mean, how cool is that? That is something that just like blows my mind. So that's kind of the personal update we got going on here. Myself, am I doing better since, the past weeks? Yeah, taking a look at the podcast overall, we did move different hosting platforms. So, of course, still the Chord Progression Podcast, we moved to a different hosting platform. And since we've done that, since we've been focusing a little bit more on the newer titles, some newer thumbnails, taking a look at kind of more on the SEO side, taking a look at some of the analytics. I mean, we're starting to see, especially on the streaming side, when it comes to new listeners, we're starting to see a lot more unique listeners starting to come in, which is a fantastic thing. On the YouTube side of things, I think we gained maybe about I want to say over the past week, 20 subscribers, which, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much, but it's like, hell yeah, let's keep that shit rolling because the more people know about it, the more stuff we get to do. Okay, taking a look back at the week that was, back on Tuesday, we had a band called Preacher, a metalcore band out of Nevada on the podcast. That one was a lot of fun to do, just be able to connect with the guys and just kind of really take a look at their DIY style. I mean, if you really are a younger band and it comes you're not sure exactly what to do, take a look at their DIY style, how they put it together, how they took a look and made sure that when they were going to bet on themselves, that they're going to put everything they had into it and be a success. So that was one definitely go look out for. And then the one that we released yesterday with Empyre, a hard rock band out of the United Kingdom. That one that's one thing I like about these podcasts is because that episode really touched on something that was a little bit, rather tough. It touches on suicide. Suicide's not an easy thing to talk about. But with how it touched on suicide by looking at it from a completely different perspective, that is something that I love to be able to do on the Chord Progression Podcast because people have different perspectives on different things. And art is something that allows us to be able to understand that and debate that, discuss it in more of an open forum. And being able to talk to Henrik about that as well was something that I was really, really big into. So I want to thank Henrik for being on the podcast. Again, if you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out for help, family, friends, the suicide hotline, a therapist, or if you feel like you have nowhere else to go, just feel free to message the Chord Progression Podcast. I'm the one that looks at all the DMs, so I will be the one to respond to you. So yeah, you're actually going to hear I'm going to be the one that responds to you. Taking a look at next week's episodes, though, this is going to be the first one's going to be one for if you are in any sort of band. If you have ever want to start a band or anything, this is going to be a podcast for you on Tuesday. We have Casey Cavaliere on the podcast. Now, who's Casey Cavaliere? He is the lead guitarist for the band The Wonder Years, but he's also an artist coach and ends up doing a lot of things on social media, dishing out advice and giving, concrete evidence for things in the social media landscape that will help bands grow and better who they are. It's something where he wants to make sure that, everybody has the chance to be able to grow. And when it comes to the coaching side of things, it's not like a snake oil salesman type thing where buy this course, no, he's been there, he's done that, and he wants to help as many artists as possible because a rising tide raises all ships. So definitely check out that one. And then on Thursday, the 9th, happy birthday to my cousin Eli on Thursday the 9th, though. He's turning 17, man, if you still remember when he was born. But on Thursday night, we have For the Fallen Dreams on the podcast. Their self-titled album comes out the day after. And that one is just fantastic because taking a look at one thing that happened with that episode, or 2 things. The first thing is how, those moments from artists, they can be the biggest or smallest ones, just artists treating fans with respect and just creating those moments can be absolutely something for the utmost positive that can really impact someone's life, because Chad had interactions with Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach and Jeff, the bassist from Poison the Well, and it led him to who he is today. And he also talks about how there's a clear musical shift from what For the Fallen Dreams had done on their previous albums to this new one. Of course, their sound is still there, but there's definitely going to be a musical shift into something else, and he explains why that is. So definitely go and check that out while you get ready to listen to For the Fallen Dreams on the podcast. On top of that as well, one of the changes you might start to see a little bit more of is, I remember back when the podcast first started, the forms, the form never changed, but in the time frame that we would fit in, I mean, we could go anywhere from like an hour. There were some that were 2 hours. I had done ones that were 2.5, almost 3. That's a slog. That can get to be a lot. And as the podcast is growing, I feel like, you're not really going to see many other podcast episodes that are going to broach over that hour point. The reason being is just because, honestly, we're starting to get through these things a little bit more concise, quicker, still having a lot of fun doing it. But, as maybe we're just getting limited time for it. And, some of these shorter ones, just that little bit of shorter time might just be the perfect sweet spot as we've been looking at the analytics a little bit more. So that's one thing to expect as well. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. If the day you're watching this on March 3rd, if you're going to be in Madison, Wisconsin to see the Flogging Molly Anti-Flag show, find the Brewers hat in the pit. Come say hi. On that note, thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. It's Kevin from the Corporate Crush Podcast. You guys know how I'm going to end this. See ya!